There's not a lot about the Western gaming industry that surprises me anymore, but 4 months after its absolute disaster of a launch, Dragon Age the Veilguard has become one of the PlayStation Network's free games for March 2025, and they literally, not figuratively, they literally cannot even give it away for free. Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface on October 31st. Yes, Halloween 2024. Dragon Age the Veilguard released to the world, and it was a catastrophe of epic proportions.
Pounding that snake's nose, she's still holding the ruby in her other hand. Maker's panties, I was so proud. They're still holding it, sorry.
What are you doing?
Pulling a barb.
And who, of course, could ever forget this chestnut?
So, I'm non-binary.
We've literally got to the point where we can no longer mock these idiots more than they do themselves with the products that they release. The only way that I can describe something like this is terminally current day, because it will ultimately kill the Western gaming industry, or at least the corporations which espouse to this or push this ideology, because there simply is no audience for it outside of their own bubble.
Death Mage won't give me one.
It's Emmerich, Tosh, not Death Mage, not Corpse Guy.
How hilarious that the person who literally wants someone to not misgender them and call them by a certain name is now calling someone by a different name they don't want to be called.
In an effort for the game to be as terminally current day as it could possibly be, the contradictions were all over the place.
I'm from Ravane. Not like I follow the Cune.
You've got the arm ropes.
Sure. I wear a lot of stuff. You don't get to tell me who I am.
A few moments later.
So, the Dragon Hunter has a softer side.
The Cune says you take care of people.
The character of Tash, rapidly became one of the most despised characters in all of gaming. And the irony being, of course, that it was 100% a self-insert for the lead developer, a gentleman that went by the name of Corrine Bush. The character was the epitome of hypocrisy, a bully, somebody who held themselves to this level and spoke down to everybody else. You had to bend your will at all cases to go along with what they wanted, and the gameplay never allowed you to reprimand them, to drag them down, to push them away, or anything along those lines. Everyone that was perceived to have besmirched the whole Trash character had to, in some way, do a penance, whether or not it was a barb or an apology or something. They were always kowtowing down to this absolute piece of shit. So it sums up Corrine Bush and the development of this game perfectly. Liars and gaslighters will tell you that options like this actually bring more variety and more choice to an RPG, whereas they don't. Because if you're bringing in an ideological aspect on one side, then if you truly want more choice, then you must have the balance on the other side. The ability to reject, the ability to not go along with it. So when you only put one side of the equation in, you're not giving options, you are forcing ideological aspects onto other players in an effort to preach to them, to manipulate them, or to literally force it onto them. It appears that in the West, nuanced storytelling is almost a thing of the past, as we're constantly smashed over the head with a sledgehammer of current day isms, and no matter how many times it's rejected, these game studios keep coming back trying to force it down our throats.
Well, behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock, we are forcing behaviors.
It's funny you should speak about forcing behaviors, Larry, because behaviors like not purchasing products usually leads to people being forced out of the door. Dragon Age, the Veilguard game director, leaving Bioware. Dragon Age game director Corinne Bush has now confirmed his departure from Bioware and EA in a statement to Eurogamer. In it, Bush said he had left the studio for a new post elsewhere after being offered an opportunity to build a fresh RPG he, quote, couldn't turn down. Well, that's a weird way of saying a McDonald's application, but there you go. Do you know what? I actually want to apologize for that. That was a little bit out of order. McDonald's workers are way overqualified to be in the same conversation as Corinne Bush, and I hope that you accept my apology. It was clear for anybody who was existing outside of this bubble to see the game was going to be an unmitigated disaster, and that was reflected in the Steam charts with a peak all-time of only 89,500 players. And when you reference that against Baldur's Gate 3, for example, that game, which actually had choices that you may or may not personally adhere to, but because it was a choice, you didn't have to go down those avenues, did 875,500 at peak, nearly 10 times that of another fantasy RPG. EA reported that the game had 1.5 million players as of 2 months after the game's launch. However, they expected the engagement to be around the 3 million mark, but there is a concern around the language that they're using. Engagement, not sales. And other data seem to lean to the fact that the game had actually sold somewhere in the region of around 800,000 units or less. So with the Xbox Game Pass not even enticing players to get on board with this ideological disaster of an RPG, it was left a couple of months later to Sony PlayStation and the PlayStation Network to offer it for free. And people just don't want it. True Trophies did this article. More PlayStation Plus subscribers played old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games than Dragon Age. With Dragon Age the Veilguard having released for PlayStation 5 less than 6 months ago, it was less. It was 4 months. It released on the 31st of October. November, December, January, February. It was given as part of the March bundle for the PlayStation Plus. It's been out for 4 months, and that's it. It's now a free video game. You might have thought it would easily draw the most attention amongst March's 2025 PlayStation Plus monthly games. Not so, as it happens. Instead, it looks like more subscribers felt like revisiting some arcade classics while they can still grab Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles the Cowabunga Collection. But Dragon Age the Veilguard wasn't just an ideological disaster, it was a game disaster. It was a writing disaster, gameplay disaster, character disaster. And I'm actually making a much, much larger video where I go in depth into all of this information. But the bad news didn't just stop there with it getting beaten by the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Oh no! It got much, much worse in terms of how many people were, well, not interested in picking up this free game. Using the website PSN Profiles, which extrapolates a lot of data as regards to players, who's got the games, the trophies that they're getting, etc., you can see that the recent players is just less than 3,000. The game is brand new and free this month for people. Only 3,000 100,000 recent players. They literally could not even give this free game away, and it still gets even worse for them. If we were to look at the top 10 most popular PlayStation 5 and 4 games for the week ending March 9th, you'll see, or not see, Dragon Age the Veilguard in there. We've got Fortnite and COD and Grand Theft Auto 5, Marvel Rivals, which has hit big, Monster Hunter Wilds, which has hit big, and that's got an all-time concurrent high of around 1.4 million players, and that is a game that you pay for. That is not a free-to-play game. Rainbow Six Siege at number 11, which is just off there, and you've got to scroll down to get to 15 before you see Dragon Age the Veilguard, a free game that enters at number 15. Can't even give it away. So what does this all mean exactly? It means that the game is getting zero engagement. That was one thing that EA wanted. Some games can get a second life once you plop it out for free. People go into the game, they find the game, discover it, and they're like, hey, this is great, this is awesome, and it can really invigorate some flagging franchises. But in this case, nah, there's absolutely zero interest. There's zero interest in even engaging it for zero cost to the end user. And most people are saying now, even the mainstream media, that this next Mass Effect game, Mass Effect 4, is the final attempt by Bioware as a company. If this fails, then the company is going to go down. But in my estimation, it's done. It's over. I don't think we're going to see Mass Effect 4. It's still in very early stages of development. And if EA come in and they look at what's going on and they don't think that that game is going to engage players at all, if it suffers from current dayisms that all their other games in recent years have, then they could just shut the whole thing down, realizing that it's just going to be a money pit. I think BioWare are done. I think within the next 2 years, EA is going to fold them up. And I think franchises like Mass Effect, Dragon Age, etc. are going to start sitting on shelves, gathering dust. I'll see you in the next video. You take care. Bye for now.